Hello, we're live, and welcome to a very, very special episode of Cinema Savvy News. It's myself, George, being joined by Chris Garner today. And for those that haven't read the description, you're probably thinking, well, why have they got news out on a Monday? Well, it's because D23 was the last weekend, and there has been a load of Disney news because D23 is the official Disney event for those that some reason don't know that. So me and Chris are here with to cover the main sort of features, and I'm dawdling. Chris, how are you?
I'm very well. As you said, there's a hell of a lot of news to get through. Can you imagine going over all this news as well as the news that we're going to be going over on Thursday as well in one big show? Wasn't going to happen. I'm immensely passionate about Disney, and I'm going to try and not be so negative on this one. I'm going to try and temper myself, but there's a lot of things that I do like. There's a lot of things that I'm not too keen on, but we're going to go through it all today. Each and every day of the expo, they kind of split it into all the different sections like Marvel, animation, everything like that, and we're just going to comb through it all.
Yeah, very vaguely introducing D23, though I did. For those that don't know, it's every 2 years. I think it's always at Anaheim because there's obviously Disneyland there. And it's basically a cross between a convention and like a business expo. So we're obviously covering the film news. So we won't be covering Kingdom Hearts, Battlefront 2, or the theme park stuff. But like I said, because have a convention, you've got your convention stuff, business stuff. Bang. I think the people that go, you've got to be like official like Disney members or something like that. So it's basically a snobbier version of Comic-Con. They didn't forget Comic-Con, though. We also have a very special video next Monday to wrap up everything from San Diego, which is probably going to be mental at this rate. Things are starting to drop out everywhere of what's going to be announced. But, yeah, that's the main thing in D23. What we will say as well, we aren't... If you go online, you can Google Avengers Infinity War footage, and you're not going to find the footage because they actually know how to block off phones at this event. For some reason, Comic-Con don't. And... there are clip descriptions everywhere. We aren't actually doing the clip descriptions, especially when it's specific stuff like, I don't know, Thanos took a poo on Captain America's shield. Like, obviously that's not happening, but I'm not going to go tell you what was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Because whether or not they showed a clip from the film or a clip from another trailer, I haven't Googled them all for my own benefit, and we don't want to be blocking them for you. Maybe one or two things if it's on like a pathetic one like Olaf's Adventure or Cars 3 or whatever other one they want to do. We'll talk about one or two things, but anything major we aren't covering at all unless it's been shown to us properly with HD, blah, blah, blah. We won't be talking about it. So that's, I guess, the sort of the intro for it. We're going to kick off with, we're going to do it as well sort of day by day. There's nothing on the Sunday, which was a shame because we originally thought there would be, but the Friday was the animation panel, Saturday was live action, and if we want to kick things off, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so are we going to go over the slate of this one, just comb through everything, or are we going straight into the days? Because we kind of cover anything anyway, don't we?
Let's do the days, and then we'll just go off how the... Oh, sorry, the slate. Course, sorry, the slate. Yes.
Yeah.
The first thing I saw, so obviously I've been away this weekend, but I got home early on Saturday, so I did actually manage to follow it on Twitter for about half an hour to an hour, I think. And it was during the actual release schedule slate, and they dropped an image, which is obviously official, so we're going to talk about it. And... they've got they call it the Walt Disney Studios release schedule from 2017 to 2019, and if you just go Google the image, we'll talk you through it as well, but you can just see the money being printed off and like that making it rain. Like you can just see everyone in the crowd doing that because I'm probably going to see almost all of these.
Yeah, me too. And as I said, like when you're a kid and you watch Disney films and stuff, you're swept up in all the innocence of it and the adventure and the charm and everything like that. Now at the age of 24 with me, looking at a slate like this, as you said, it's just, you see the money machine that Disney is now. Look at all those franchises they've got. Not only have they got Pixar, their own animation, Marvel, Star Wars. There's going to be so many on this list that cross the billion mark, so they're going to be absolutely rolling in that dough. But yeah, what shocked me the most, though, just going over it like broadly, is that Coco, for all intents and purposes, is the only original movie on this list until 2019. Very, very strange, even in terms of like their animation stuff. And I mean, I love the Disney animated classics. I own them all. But even those, we're getting 2 sequels. We're getting Wreck-It Ralph 2. We're getting Frozen 2. So there's no originality there. There's the live-action remakes, which, again, are based on pre-existing material that Disney already have. You've got the Marvel movies. You've got the Star Wars movies. Coco is the only one standing out to me that's its own original story. And then you could argue that maybe that's not wholeheartedly original when you can look at things like The Book of Life or Kubo and the Two Strings, which it looks like it's definitely taking a lot from. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I was expecting maybe a little bit more. I don't know about you.
The thing I went for first was where's 2020? Where's the new Star Wars film?
Yeah.
And then I did that because there were so many on there. I just naturally thought like this was like 4 or 5 years worth of films, and I actually looked underneath, and it's 2 years and 4 months. Technically 2 months because Thor's out in October. So, I mean, we'll. Yeah, it was weird looking at it, and then you see ones like Disney Toon and Titled, and you kind of think like, well, I don't really care because you don't know what the Entitled is. But obviously, when you said there, you know, where were the original films, and you have to look hard. I mean, A Wrinkle in Time. Some people might think that's original, but no, it's a book. It's been a TV show before, and there's the Nutcracker in the Four Realms. I genuinely don't know what that is. They didn't actually speak about it. I think that's the only film they haven't spoken about. It's on the actual schedule, which was very odd. And what I will say also, obviously they spoke Avengers and stuff, but San Diego has been confirmed for an hour-and-a-half long Marvel panel. We'll get to that very on at the end. So we don't have news on this as such as the individual projects like Ant-Man 2, like Captain Marvel, like any other ones that I haven't forgotten about, but Black Panther, sorry. But it's just insane seeing, you know, Incredibles 2. Like, you can look and you can find something that would be big enough to top a news article for each week, and it's 3/4 of the way down the bottom of your list. That's what's on here.
Right, so I think we've kind of swept over it there. Should we go more in depth into it now? So we'll kick off with Friday, which was the animation panel. Starting off with, as we said, there's an untitled animated film announced for April the 12th, 2019. It's rumored to be set in space, and I think we've pretty much guessed that it's going to be Planes 3. I think you said you saw a picture of a rocket with eyes on it, and we know the cars, that's kind of their MO. Take a vehicle, whack some googly eyes on it, and you've got yourself a fun-loving animated character. So I think it's good. They're not going to stop the cars trend anytime soon, and we'll probably get a Planes 3 out of it.
Planes 3, money machine. They'll be able to sell space toys. There'll be some crossover merchandise. I think I saw Lego apparently has Cars as a sponsorship deal now, which is like ridiculous because like you can't make the Lightning McQueen out of Lego. It wouldn't look right. And yeah, so they kicked off with probably the most boring announcement of the entire day, so I will give them credit for that. If it's Planes 3, or honestly, I really don't care. I don't think anyone in the world cares. I don't even think little kids care. I mean, kids like cars, but did anyone watch any of the two Planes films? Like, I don't think kids will care about this, especially now. Like, you know, we spoke when I kind of hijacked your Cars review yesterday. There was a big chat on Despicable Me that kids like Minions now. They don't like cars with funny eyeballs. They like little like Tic Tacs with eyes and legs and stuff. But yeah, like Planes 3, joy. Let's move on to the next one. Easily my most anticipated film of the entire calendar we've got on the wall here. We have a preview of Olaf's Frozen Adventure.
Yeah, the 20-minute short film that's going to be attached to Coco later this year. Josh Gad, man, you can't get rid of him, can you? This year, he just seems to have been everywhere. He's got his fingers in all the pies. And then apparently they did a song. I was tempted to use that phrase. I went with it. I really wish I hadn't now. Apparently Kristen Bell came out and did a song as well. Wow, how do I move on from that image of Josh Gad? We're going to move on from it anyway.
Well, you know, he's a big bloke, isn't he? Yeah, so the one thing I will say about that is that I already don't want to watch Coco, and now I've got to watch a 20-minute short of Frozen attached to it. Frozen being probably my least favorite Disney film I've ever seen. No joke. It's torture. I mean, I can hate on the Cars ones, but I certainly like them more than Frozen, and that really makes me want to watch Coco even less. It's already the fact that it's an animated film that you're going to be like one adult in a room full of kids, and there's the fact that now there's going to be screaming girls that go there just to watch this 20-minute Frozen short. Like, do I specifically go to the cinema an hour late because you're going to get half an hour of adverts, then the Frozen short? I don't know, but
they did one for a Tangled as well that I saw. I went to see Beauty and the Beast 1991 at the BFI, and they put the Tangled 3D thing at the beginning of that. I'm expecting it's going to be something like that. And like you, I hated Frozen. I've seen it twice. The first time I watched it, I went in with all the pre-existing hype. I was late to the party with Frozen, watched it, didn't understand what the hype was about. If you compare it to any of the Disney films that came out in the 90s, that's just not nostalgia speaking. I think they're much stronger films than Frozen. I watched it a couple of months ago to see if I went into it differently, and I still think it's just an overhyped mess of a film. Really don't care for it. So Of course, I'm going to go and see Coco, but now after hearing this news, I might show up 20 minutes late to it.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, yeah, there'll be little followers excited, but how many people in the crowd really want to watch it?
And that's going to be taking the place of a Pixar animated short. When you go and see a Pixar film, you get essentially two movies. You get the little short movie at the beginning, you get your main feature. And I want to see Pixar have their own animated short at the beginning of their movie. I don't want to see Frozen.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the lava one. Was it in front of Inside Out?
Yeah.
I love that, and I haven't actually seen the short from one of the more recent ones. I don't know why. Was there a Pixar film last year? Oh, I haven't seen Finding Dory. That's why. Still haven't seen
Finding Dory was like a superhero one. I forgot what it's called. It was nominated for Best Animated Short at the time. The best one I can remember was Piper, which came out alongside The Good Dinosaur, I believe. That was fantastic. But now we've got Frozen 2, so
joy.
Roll on December.
What I will say, roll on, is one of my favorite of. I really can't call it the classic Disney, but that's their official title.
It's a Disney classic. It is a Disney classic.
Disney classic, but it's 4 years old, and it's the most modern Disney classic probably ever made. Wreck-It Ralph, obviously, is doing a sequel, Wreck-It Ralph 2, and they showed a lot of footage, which we can't really delve into, but I guess this is where we kind of contradict ourselves. In the formal of the cast out talking and stuff, they went over some plot details that obviously they're going to, I think is officially it's called Wreck-It Ralph Break the Internet, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think it's wrong that kids are going to Google Break the Internet and cover pictures of the Kardashian family. So unfortunately for those parents, they have to set some filters on for their kids. But it's obviously they're going to get into the internet, and they showed, I think they're talking about the plot that I always forget her name. Is it Sarah Silverman that voices the girl? She kind of said that she ends up on the Disney website, and there's a kind of crossover. And when I started reading that, I just clicked off. You've looked into it more, so it's crossing this boundary where we don't know what we can really say about it. And I'm really hoping that what I heard was just them trying to G up the crowd, and that it's not any integral. I hope it's more of a glorified cameo, if you want to cover it.
Yeah. So in terms of Wreck-It Ralph, I watched it. I didn't think it was that great, but I liked the world it was set up, and I thought the video game realm was the perfect way to keep it. Even though they covered a lot of different types of video games in the first one, the possibilities were still kind of limitless. Now we're at the internet with the second one, and the news apparently is that the film is going to feature cameos from not only Disney animated characters, they mentioned Disney princesses will feature in there. They've also mentioned that Star Wars characters will be included as well. Now, I hope these are cameos. If they are cameos, the whole Star Wars thing, I'm not too keen on. The Disney characters, if you look at other Disney films before, they've always thrown in like little Easter eggs here and there to characters. For example, the genie from Aladdin transformed into Pinocchio. There was Little Mermaid references in there. Even with things like Moana, for example, at the post-credit scene with Tamatoa the crab, he refers to Sebastian the crab. So Disney films have been doing that for a long time. With this film, though, with the kind of the world that it's building, I hope that they really don't dwell on them. And I've always thought that Disney animation and Star Wars, although they're owned by the same company, should always remain separate at all times. So when you hear people talking about Princess Leia should be added to the Disney princess lineup, I'm like, no, keep them separate. I'm going to have to wait until I see the film if they're going to be going on the Disney website. To me, it just seems like Disney just sort of dick waving, saying like, oh, yeah, we've got all these properties now. We can mash them all together. We're even seeing that in their Marvel stuff now as well, where there's constant Star Wars references, especially Spider-Man Homecoming. But in terms of animation, maybe it's just because I've grew up with it all the time, but I don't want to see the two worlds collide.
It's a weird one, because when it first kind of came out, I was defending it, but because I'm not going into the... I'm expecting this to literally be like one short scene off from the film. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you know, they've done Easter eggs before with each other's properties and stuff, but when you put in Star Wars in there, like I got the Easter egg in Civil War. That really, really old movie, the Star Wars, and okay, Homecoming. There's a Lego Death Star. There's Kenner figures. There's more references, but that's a reference, and you can live with references no matter how cheesy they get. If they're going to properly go for these cameos, and I'm just gonna assume it's Anthony Daniels, because really really who else is it gonna be? I don't know. I really hope it's a cameo, because I loved Wreck-It Ralph 1. I think there was a Sonic cameo of him on a billboard and stuff, and they got. I mean, if they're getting deals with Nintendo, then yeah, they can cross-reference it themselves. But I really hope that this stays the film about Wreck-It Ralph, and that he's not going into the internet for the sake of it. That he's going in for story points. But what they did also announce, there's a new character called with 3 S's. Over here in the UK, I think the catchphrase is Yas, because John Oliver does it a lot, and you get a lot of people that use it on text. I don't think we ever have, but I've sent to some people like it's like the quick reply of yes, but you're not sounding begrudgingly normal. So maybe this is the American version, but Yas, that's going to be a character. Joy.
What the fuck ever, you know? It's so modern, like this film, like in terms of even the logo for it. It's like an app on a phone.
Yeah, I do like that though. I saw it, I was like, shit, is there an update? I was like, oh no, I get it. Like,
so it's you know, it's me being an old curmudgeonly asshole now at the age of 24 and seeing these younger kids with their mobile phones and their iPads and their apps. What the hell ever. We've got a character called Yas, so oh wait, maybe they're going to be a fun character. I don't know. This is all
like Bad Ape. Who would have thought Bad Ape could be one of the best characters of the film in a year?
Yeah.
Then the animated films. No, sorry, the classic got people left, and in came Pixar to save the day.
More sequels.
Yes, actually, 2 sequels, an entire film, and Coco. Let's go first. Let's go for one of the 2 sequels people are excited for. The Incredibles 2. I first thought, okay, they've just shown this clip to the crowd, but they've released it online. So they've done a really cool mockumentary featurette as a tribute to Edna Mode, and it's basically about her being a fashion icon. They have loads of famous models on, celebrities, and sort of about, oh, Edna was this. She built my costume for this. I love it when she had the bulletproof one. And it's only a 2-minute song, and normally this kind of thing's like cringy, but because Edna was one of the best things about Incredibles, and you know, the whole no capes and the fact it's Brad Bird as well. I actually really loved it, and I really hope this is something I can see in adverts, because when they've got like, is it Kylie Jenner, like her, like, you know, all the teens are going to see, and they've obviously splashed money. They want to get a cameo of her. I don't know, but that's a really cool, like, okay, we don't have the footage to show as a trailer, so here's basically a behind the scenes feature, which is still going to get you really excited for the new one. So I thought that was kind of cool, and then they didn't really delve into it too much, The Incredibles. I think they've kind of said that it's going to start where the last one finished. Anything more than that, I'm not looking into. I don't know if you have.
The only other bits of news I've heard is that there's going to be a part where there's like, I can't remember the exact number, but I think they mentioned something like 15 superheroes. The technology is basically advanced so far now where they can do more and they can show more on screen. And there's going to be even more superheroes on screen at one time than there was in the original movie, which, I mean, I don't know the plot at this stage. That might be fine. In terms of picking up right where it left off, we've kind of been talking on the channel of how we think they're going to handle that. Because there was a video game that was released. I think it was called Rise of the Underminer, which was meant to be an unofficial sequel to Incredibles. I'm hoping that the whole Underminer thing begins the movie. You can pick it up there, and then I hope it flashes forward, because I think I said yesterday in our Cars 3 review, it's been 14 years since the first Incredibles movie. It's at the stage now where, because we've had so long a wait, I want to see these characters and how they've aged. I want to see, you know, what are they? Jack, Violet and Dash. I want to see them older now. Maybe they're famous superheroes. Maybe the parents are completely retired at this point, or maybe they're still trying to relive the glory days. I don't know. There's a lot more story material there I want to see, so hopefully it doesn't linger on the Underminer stuff too much. And then on top of that, apparently a first clip was shown of Jack using his powers. It was a short film that was kind of released along the same time, wasn't it, of the first Incredibles movie, where it was baby Jack with the babysitter. So I'm assuming it's maybe going to be something like that, but now he's older. I don't know. As I said, we haven't seen this footage. We can't really comment on it, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, The Incredibles it's a really odd Pixar film. Like, when I first started, I didn't like it, and
me too.
And then I've grown to it over the years, and okay, I'm excited. I'm a lot more excited for that than the other films. But Jack was. When I first saw the film, I was, 8? And, oh my God, he's got powers all along. Obviously, that was always going to happen in that film eventually at some point. But I want to see how they develop, because I would like, I want to see what happened at the end. Obviously, I think, did they do like a Nintendo DS game or something, which was the actual fight with the guy or something? But what they did do is what I did forget. Apparently, they got Samuel L. Jackson out for this. he came out to this, but not the Avengers panel, which is insane because it's Samuel L. Jackson. Like, where isn't he? And you know, that to me is like, okay, Frozen's back as well. That's one of his like most iconic scenes. The "Where's my super suit?" And I don't know. Incredible is an odd one. Like, I want to keep away because I want to go in fresh, but I know that as soon as stuff starts coming out, and what I like seeing is on Facebook is because it's our generation. This is our Pixar films. You're getting all the people that don't talk about film. Like, if I see any 12-year-olds in my way, I'm gonna literally like. This is what I was like when Toy Story 3 came out. Like, I was having no one younger than me, no one that was born past like this century in front of me at the cinema, and I feel that we're going to get that with The Incredibles too. It's going to be interesting, I think, especially now. There's so many superhero films out. They've got to do something good to get it right without it being something you've seen before.
That's a good point, actually. Never even thought of that. The world of superhero films as it is might have some influence on this film, maybe, and how they go about it. I didn't even think of that. I mean, I've seen some people that describe the first Incredibles film as the best Fantastic Four movie ever made, which I guess you can argue, like the whole family of superheroes. Be interesting to see how it pans out. For me, anyway, I'm not sure about you. On to lesser news with Toy Story 4. So Josh Cooley now is apparently directing. I can't remember the original name of the director they've got rid of, but I mean, this is fairly close to being released. So that's, say what you want about Toy Story 4, but that doesn't look good in terms of a directorial standpoint. Apparently, he did the Inside Out screenplay. This is his directorial debut. He's directed an animated film before. It was a short. I think it's called George and AJ, which I haven't seen, so I can't really comment on that. And Lasseter is now, it's Lasseter who was going to direct it, wasn't it? Has now been changed to executive producer. We've talked Toy Story 4 before. We've talked about how we'll go and see it anyway, but in terms of sequels, this might be the most pointless Pixar sequel yet.
Yeah, I'm really not looking forward. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be hyped. I'm going to be insane, but they don't need to make this. Like, normally I'm always up for the extra film. People know what I'm like, but Toy Story 3 ended so well, and it's such like, even when that film came out, I was like, well, it's been so long since the second one, but it's Toy Story. It's going to be the final one, especially when they're holding hands to incinerate themselves and driving off into the distance. And now it's like, do you need a fourth one? Like, are you just going to have them like transferred to another person's home? I don't know. Like, these can't last forever. They're toys.
Well, apparently the news I've heard so far is that they're going to kind of abandon that whole kid with toys dynamic. That's the
well, I don't mind that. I don't mind that because Toy Story 2 and 3 are basically like not about the kids at all. But I'm just there now. Like, you just know there's going to be some crap jokes about how they've been replaced by technology, like more so than they were in Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 nailed it. The whole like he's grown up, he's gone to uni, he's got girlfriends, this, that, the other. But now I can just picture like they'll be in the room and in the corner of his eye he'll be on an iPad, and I don't know. They don't need to make this film at all.
No.
And John Lasseter changing to leaving director, like, that's the warning marks. Can you even compare that to anything? That would be like Kevin Feige like leaving like Marvel as a producer and then like promoting like, I don't know, John Watts to, like the new Kevin Feige. It'd be like alarm bells, claxons going off everywhere.
Yeah, and in terms of the plot, what they've released so far, it's going to be a love story between Bo Peep and Woody. Bo Peep's fate was kind of summed up in Toy Story 3. It was a very heartbreaking moment, and now she's going to come back. It feels like the whole Finding Dory thing. It feels like the Cars 3 thing the Cars 2 thing, sorry, where it's an idea that would be great for like a 10-minute animated short like they've done with Toy Story in the past. They've released a couple of those animated shorts. They're pretty fun for what they are. And it's going to be dragged out to the running time of a feature-length film. No other details were really released about it. It was just the directorial change-up. But
I've always wondered this. Bo Peep, she's actually a lamp, so why is she a toy?
I don't know. It's going to be like that thing from in the live-action Beauty and the Beast where she picks up the hairbrush and she thinks, does this come alive as well? They're select about the things that come alive, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, it's just oh, don't make it, please don't. I'm still going to go there in my Pixar, Pixar vans, my Toy Story vans. But let's go on to something that I'm maybe intrigued by. No, I am intrigued by. So Pixar announced an Untitled film because obviously that's what they always do, and it's going to be original, and it's directed by Dan Scanlon, who did Monsters University, and I think he's quite a senior member of Pixar and the creative team. And he kind of said there's no details as such yet, but he's given some first sights that he lost his dad at a very early age. And he kind of said this Pixar film is going to be vaguely in that you've got a protagonist who's lost his father quite early on, and it's going to follow both characters. And I did a bit more digging on it, and he's kind of says of like not the sort of fantasy element, but it's going to feel like two different stories and stuff like that. They're very vague, but I got this Coco gist from it that if it's about that, like, go careful on your territories. It sounds something that could be great, especially when you've had like Inside Out, and if it's going to be original, this has more of the Pixar up quality in Inside Out than it does a sequel bait. Obviously, it's not a sequel, but like a Good Dinosaur or Brave, this feels like they get these cards right. This could be a really, really good film.
Well, as I said, I'm always clamoring for original content in terms of Pixar, and this looks like it's going to be that more mature take where kids will still like it, but it's going to have enough material there where adults can gravitate towards it as well. I, like you, immediately picked up on the Coco links that you can have with it. Like Coco's going to deal with like the afterlife and seeing past family members. This might be the same thing, especially if it's focusing on two different plots with the two characters. There's a little bit of the opening scene from Up in there as well. I got aspects of that. It seems like a logical idea for Pixar, and I'm sure they're going to do it well because they do emotion very well. And if anything, if Toy Story 4 is awful, well, I don't think Incredible 2 is awful, but it will be a nice change of pace from the constant sequels with a new original story.
Yeah, and then finally, they showed loads of clips from Coco. Again, we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Is it you or Tate that's looking forward to it? Is it you?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, you and Tate are kind of ambivalent towards it. Tate doesn't really like it because he says it's very similar to Kubo and the Two Strings, Book of Life, and he says that it doesn't really offer anything new. I agree with all those comments, but I don't know. I'm a sucker for animated films, and I think it looks great.
I just think it looks crap. That's that's the one way of putting it. I'll give credit to D23. They know how to put on a show. They had, I think, all the posters had like flowers and stuff everywhere, and they had a clip, and then they dropped them all down on the roof onto the people in the crowd. So you know, it's an event. They do stuff like that. I do like that kind of cheesy thing. It feels like they've got their money's worth of them being at a stream. So
and then some poor sod's got to clean all those leaves up after the show's finished.
Yeah, I mean, unless he takes them all and sells them online, and he can get a bit of money. But I don't think anyone wants to watch Coco. But yeah, that's the animated sort of day. I mean, I like how the fact that, you know, San Diego, it's like it's like a festival. Like, you have your headliner each night, whereas D23 is like, here's today, here's tomorrow, there's Sunday, like months in advance. And I mean, I won't lie, just before we get to them, the live action is so much stronger than this animated panel.
Do you want to sum up what our favourite bit of news for each day was, or do you want to do that?
Yeah, that's a nice way of doing it. Really, the only good news is Incredibles 2.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, Incredibles 2, and that one that we just mentioned, the entire Pixar film. There's not enough information to go on, though, really, is there, with that? I remember when Inside Out was, they first had the log line for Inside Out, and it was like a story that takes place in the human mind. It's like, and then when you eventually get Inside Out, it's just blows everything out of proportion. So I guess out of everything, Incredibles 2 is the one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see. It's not something different because it's a sequel, but you know, it's not the fourth one. It's the second one. There's been a long gap, and it's a Brad Bird film. Like, speaking of Disney, Tomorrowland is a film that I did enjoy. It kind of was never as good as it should have been. It was marketed wrong, but I thoroughly did enjoy it, and I've liked his other work. And I think he's always said he always wanted to do Incredibles 2, but he wouldn't do it until he had the right story for it. And it's like a rare instance where I feel that a director has creative control on not just a Disney property, a Pixar property, and they've actually listened to him. So I'll give them a lot of credit for that. But yeah, The Incredibles 2 was the best thing by that day, I think, by a country mile.
Right, so we move on to Saturday then, live action panel. Pretty much going to be passing straight over to you on this one because I'm going to be doing my reaction to this trailer tomorrow. But A Wrinkle in Time trailer has been released. It's one of the few trailers that's been released at D23. This is based on a very famous book, apparently. I haven't read the book. I know pretty much nothing about this thing. I remember hearing the title before. But you watched the trailer literally before we went live. So what's going on with this trailer?
I think... Well, I was kind of watching you there, and I was kind of like, "What the hell was that?" Like, I don't know anything. It's like exactly the same as you. I know of the book. I've never read it, and it's not original, but it's a live action Disney film that is neither a sequel, a prequel, a Star Wars film, a Marvel film, a remake of an animated film. I literally compare this to Tomorrowland because it's got the setup of a young girl has got to save the not necessarily save the world. So I'm just creating the trailer. The story is integral to her father, who's Chris Pine, and time travel is involved, and she's got to basically do something to save the day. It is a Disney film at the end of the day, and there's a lot of Tomorrowland vibes from it. Some odd kind of sci-fi. It's like a sci-fi adventure on a ridiculously high budget that Disney wouldn't give to a film like this normally. It's directed by Ava DuVernay. I believe it's like this after Wonder Woman, like the only film to be directed by a woman with like $100 million budget, which is, you know, I'm sure people pop at that and get excited and make thousands of articles on it. But to me, it's just another film, and they've put a talented person in charge of it. So that, yeah, I don't want to get triggered. Doctor Who's been out this week as well. But the trailer itself, it looks original. I know it's a book. If I wanted, I could read the book and find out what happens. But I'm kind of intrigued. I think it's doomed. I think it's due out this near enough Ready Player One, and for unfilmable films, I think Ready Player One's going to take that with the Spielberg name. But this could be maybe a hit. But looking at it, it looks like it'll be fine. But nothing stands out to me. Like I said, it looks very much like Tomorrow. And if you see it, you'd understand the whole jumping in portals, and they're not jumping in portals, but there's that whole changing odd sci-fi. There's going to be an Easter egg somewhere, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think they gave everyone in the crowd a free poster. I would say the cast is very strong, but it's probably. I mean, it's sad that the only new property is the one that no one cares about on the Disney panel.
Yeah,
but you know what? From what we're about to talk through, like, you're going to understand why, because this is really where the big guns come out. Like, I'd probably rather be, if I had a choice, like 5 sort of Comic-Con panel events to be in a year, I'd have Celebration #1 every time. I'd have Hall H for Marvel second. Sorry, DC fans. And then I'd have DC. And then I'd have this. I would rather be at the D23 to experience the whole Disney hype. But because they cover so much, they've got so many properties here that they could have a panel per, you know, they could easily have the live action classic remake panel. They could easily have the Star Wars panel. They could have a Marvel panel. But they've chucked it all into one night. Obviously, San Diego's next week, where Marvel's going to dominate stuff. But should we just go in for the big guns now?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Mary Poppins Returns, which might be the most... I want to see how long that boardroom meeting was when they were deciding the title on that movie. But Emily Blunt and Rob Marshall came out, and there hasn't been an actual clip that's been released to us. There's been a motion poster that's been released, which looks fine for what it is. It's very short. But apparently a clip was shown to the crowd. As I said, we had the first video poster of Mary Poppins, Emily Blunt in full costume. And apparently during the actual during the expo, the orchestra came out and played a song from the original movie over the clips that were shown. I'm going to probably piss off a lot of diehard fans here. I am not a Mary Poppins fan at all. Maybe I watched it at the wrong age. Maybe it was dated too much for me when I watched it. I understand why it's regarded as a Disney, not a numbered Disney classic, but in terms of Disney's movies, an absolute classic. The songs are memorable and everything like that. But what I was talking about before we went live is actually like how they're going to go about this movie. Are they going to integrate the animation with the live action like the original did and was arguably revolutionary for, or is it going to be, you know, CGI animated all the way through, or what are they going to do? Because it seems like they've pretty much abandoned 2D animation at this point, so maybe it is just going to be live action all the way through.
I've never seen Mary Poppins. I know the songs like Chim Chimney, whatever. I know it's the whole like women getting the vote, World War One vibes, and it's about little kids and her magic umbrella. I've never really wanted to watch it. I know Julie Andrews is in it, and Emily Blunt, I think, come out and says no one can be Julie Andrews. Like, I've had to take on her performance and put my spin on it as well.
Yeah.
You kind of have to say that at this point. It's like the whole young Han Solo thing, like, oh yeah, no one can be Harrison Ford, so I'm doing my own thing. Obviously, that's not working out currently. I really hope it does, but...
So, luckily, Emily Blunt hasn't had an acting coach on set for Mary Poppins just yet.
Yeah, the Full Metal Bastard, I think she's called in I've forgotten the name. One of the best ones Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, Lin-Manuel, I forgot his name. The guy that did Hamilton, who did Moana, who's everywhere now, he's in it, and I'm assuming he's probably written some of the songs as well.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out Christmas 2018, which is, you know, that's the first time there's not going to be a Star Wars film at Christmas for a couple of years. I guess that's the reason they won't shift the Han Solo film to Christmas that year. because they want Mary Poppins to have it. And kind of in some way, I can imagine a lot of families wanting to go
It's
see
that
it.
family Christmas movie.
Yeah, and again, clips are released. There are descriptions if you want them, but we're not really looking. Not that I care. It's just I don't care about looking at them. It's one that it's risky. I think there'll be one where you've got a lot of. It'll be the first time a lot of kids ever see. I mean, do you think kids know of Mary Poppins now? Like the millennials?
That's a good point. I don't think they probably do. So I think the audience that this would be geared for is audiences that grew up with the original. And I think a lot of people, like old timers, I don't want to say old timers. I don't know how old people were when they first saw Mary Poppins, but they're going to want Julie that's going to be their Mary Poppins. And I mean, that film, when did it come out? It's been out for decades, hasn't it? The original Mary Poppins, and there's been no sequel. It doesn't really need a sequel. So I'm undecided as to what audience this movie is actually going for, because it seems like it's trying to bank on the nostalgia, but I don't know if the nostalgia's there for it.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's got the reputation that there'll be a lot of parents that bring their kids to it and vice versa, that it could open up a whole new trend of sort of things, but it's an odd one. I'm going to wait for a trailer to see how they do it, because if it's called Mary Poppins Returns, like she's obviously coming back. Like I said, is it going to have animated stuff in it as well? I don't know, but I think it's one that it could be not a sleeper hit, but it could be a film no one wants that turns out being great.
It's going to have that family dynamic, like you said, the release date. They were very smart with that, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah, smart. I mean, everyone, it's like Star Wars. You're going to have dads taking their kids, or moms and dads taking their kids for the first time. You've got our age group who are showing it to new people. You've got even like grandparents wanting to watch a Star Wars film. Mary Poppins is like everyone knows what it is, but you know, when I said I don't know if kids watch it, like they'd all see ones like they all see the animated film still, but the really old Disney like live action stuff, like do they know of it? You don't know. So I reckon it'll be fine. They've probably spent more time on this, knowing that this is probably one of the harder PR things to get right. Mary Poppins film. I think they come out and said that the original table used for the first film will not, like, it's so weird to call it the first film now. The original table, apparently that's a massive deal. I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but the original table is back. It's cool they're using a prop so many years later, but I bet they were more careful with that than anything else on set. It's probably the only valuable one that's not done off a 3D printer. But no, Mary Poppins. Let's move on to one that I had nothing for, and I'm really now behind this and looking forward to this. Just talk Dumbo.
Dumbo, live action Dumbo. See, this sits in because obviously Tim Burton's directing it, for anyone who doesn't know. And this to me sits in that weird realm of like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Some might chalk that up to being a live action adaptation of Disney's Alice in Wonderland, obviously because it's still got the Disney moniker over it. But for some reason, when Tim Burton's involved, I always see it as his thing, like his take on something, like he did with Planet of the Apes, for example. So apparently the live action version is out March 29th, 2019. It's filming now in London, and the first image has been revealed, and it's basically Tim Burton on the train set. It's like a circus train for anyone who hasn't seen the original Dumbo. Everyone knows my thoughts on these live action versions of Disney classics at this point. The one thing that's attracted me to this is Tim Burton, because for as bad as some of his recent movies have been, I've still always been a fan of Tim Burton. I've seen all of his movies. I hated Alice in Wonderland. It's one of the worst films I think I've ever seen at the cinema. It was a terrible, terrible adaptation of that thing. But if you're looking at Dumbo for what's integrating, I mean, you've got a circus in there, you've got clowns, and you've got the pink elephant sequence, which is absolutely just nightmare fuel. All three of those things sound like they will go hand in hand with Tim Burton's adaptation and his vision for things. They've also released a maquette of what the model of Dumbo is going to look like. I saw some hilarious comments. Some people saying, does that mean that Dumbo is going to be a real elephant in this film? Practical effects. And then someone says, yes, it's going to be a real elephant. It's very challenging to train an elephant to actually fly nowadays, but Tim Burton has found a way to do it. You know, I like the look of it. I was expecting, you know, Tim Burton, gothic Tim Burton. It's going to be like this emaciated, bedraggled, beaten and abused elephant that's just going to look horrific. You're going to have the crows in there that are going to look like churchyard death crows in it. But so far, apart from like the circus train, which looks bedraggled and everything like that, it looks interesting. They're definitely going to have to flesh the story out. And I guess when I pass over to you in a minute, if you go through the cast, it looks like they're already doing that and they're making the story bigger than what it actually was.
Yeah, I'm kind of, you know, I I think you know, when you hit the animated films, you've either seen them through old clips or you've seen them but you don't remember them. The one thing I cannot unsee is the pink stuff.
Pink elephants,
and it is, if you were to sit down and put every single Disney film on a plate, and if you gave Tim Burton pick one of these, okay, he took Alice in Wonderland already. What's next? It would be Dumbo. There's something Tim Burton about a giant elephant. Well, no, not a giant elephant. An elephant with giant ears that can fly with tiny blue eyes.
He did have a giant elephant in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children at Blackpool Circus at the end of that movie.
Also starring Eva Green.
Exactly, yeah.
And, you know, originally I was kind of like, Tim Burton. He's someone that I like some of his stuff, but I can hate a lot of his stuff as well. He's one of them. I think with Tim Burton, you don't get average films. You get a good Tim Burton film or a bad Tim Burton film.
Exactly. Yeah.
He doesn't make average films. I will give him credit for that. And, you know, one of them is like Planet of the Apes, for example. Like, I can't say I grew up on it, but I had it on VHS, and to me, like, we had the original Planet of the Apes, and I'd seen it a few times, but it was that weird old one with the really odd VHS cover compared to the nice, sleek. Because the videos, you never had black plastic-colored videos. It was always like that see-through bit. The VHS Americans, and the Planet of the Apes was black and slick, and it looked awesome. And then I remember like Mike and Mark was there. There was the little monkey and stuff, and then it hit an age where it was crap. And obviously now we've had the incredible trilogy, but looking back, if I was to ever rewatch it, I would genuinely want it because it's a Tim Burton film, and I think if I can remember, there was a monkey kissing a human, which is just so fucked up. It's wrong. Obviously, it had Helena Bonham Carter, who will probably be in this some way or another eventually.
Oh, I don't know now because
I know they've split. I know they've split, but I think was she in his last film? I don't know. Maybe he's
no. It was just Eva Green.
That's a shame. You can't have one without it. But yeah, it's one that, I mean, when I saw that picture of the train, I was like, okay, that actually looks really cool. Like, he's not on like a Tim Burton train. It looks like a normal steam train that's aged a bit. And if we go into the characters now, because some of these have been linked, but they've officially announced them now, and you've got a vague bit of story which you can gather with the pieces. I will say first that there's some newcomers who are probably the protagonists, who I don't know the names of because obviously, well, I do know. I'm just not writing them down because they're newcomers. No one's heard of them. And then we'll go for the big ones because we've got Colin Farrell playing. I don't remember the names of the original. So if anyone knows these names, I feel that I think they're all. Yeah, I think these are all new names to craft them more with its story. But Colin Farrell, Colin Farrell playing Holt Farrier. He's a war veteran and former circus star who finds his life turned upside down when he returns from the war. He's hired by a character called Medici to care for the newborn elephant who his children befriend. So obviously, if he's the top build, then he's going to be the lead of the assault battle actors. Then we've got Eva Green, which is a win-win situation, who's playing Colette Marchand, a French trapeze artist, even more of a win-win situation, and who's performing at the circus. She's probably going to be the love interest, the morally right character. Then we've got something which is incredible. Someone that hates Batman Returns, Danny DeVito, coming back to a Tim Burton film is actually amazing. He's playing the ringmaster, Max Medici. He owns the small circus that gets acquired by a character called Vandermeer. V.A. Vandermeer is played by none other than Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice, aka Tim Bankers. I did like watch though, but he's, quote, a ruthless entrepreneur who acquires a circus to exploit the elephant. I'm down with that cast. I mean, that's a solid cast, and it's a different cast as well.
And we can also say as well that there was a time where I heard that Will Smith was attached to this thing, but he's left due to scheduling. I wonder if that's due to scheduling with our next bit of news, which we'll get onto in a minute. And then unknowns are playing everyone else. I like this cast. The one thing that I don't like, and I guess this is my take with live action things, the Dumbo movie, the original, is about 60 minutes tops. I think it caps in at about maybe just under that, like 58 minutes, 60 minutes, something like that. So of course you're going to have to flesh out the story. But it sounds like it's going to be like the whole Transformers thing where it's focusing on the humans, and then Dumbo is going to be like there as a supporting character, as the thing that they're going to have to try and save, which I don't know if I like that take. I think you could easily have a movie that's just centered on Dumbo, because the only other speaking character in Dumbo and that reacted with Dumbo was Timothy the Mouse. And then you had the crows, which everyone says are the racist crows now, which I guess, you know, it was different times for Disney in, what was it, like the 1940s. But the cast, I mean, in terms of newcomers to Tim Burton projects. Colin Farrell's a newcomer. Eva Green has been in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I think she's probably going to be a long-time cast member in most of his other films from here on in. Danny DeVito has been in Batman Returns and Big Fish, and actually this is the second time he's playing the character of a circus ringmaster in a Tim Burton film. He played a ringmaster character who was also a werewolf in Big Fish. That's probably my favorite Tim Burton movie. And then Michael Keaton, as you said, Beetlejuice, Batman. One of my favorite actors, Spider-Man Homecoming, terrible movie, best thing in it. And the fact that he's going to be playing the villain is incredibly interesting. And the fact that Will Smith is no longer in this movie makes me very happy, because I'm no longer a Will Smith fan. I liked him in the 90s, not so much now.
Do you think Michael Keaton's going to have a magic trick with the name V.A. Vandermeer that he's got like wings to be a vulture of some kind in the circus shows? I can picture this being a, not like a Disney thing, but you've got the Dumbo stuff, and then you'll get a couple of scenes with the other characters where Dumbo will be playing with the kids, and it'll cut to Colin Farrell having a conversation with the others. Like, I feel that Dumbo will be like a major character, but you're meant to sympathize with him. Yeah. Similar to like the Jungle Book, where you had obviously Mowgli, and you know you had King. Well, I forgot his name. Giant gorilla now.
King Louis.
King Louis. There we go. Jesus, how on earth did I forget that?
He's like Maurice.
Yeah, like King Louis had a backstory with the other characters, and I feel that it's going to be that way. They've put these descriptions here, but that's because they're like the main actors in them. I guess it'll be a lot more about Dumbo, but it sounds like he's going to puff it. Yes, Will Smith leading, thank God. You did a great impression of him yesterday. He's someone that I've never ever had the hype for Will Smith. I mean, I liked Fresh Prince. Everyone liked Fresh Prince. Mm-hmm. This goes out saying, and just as soon as he gets attached to projects now, I just whimper, because the thing is, it's a meme now. You know that if he gets attached to a project, Jaden's going to come into it. I mean, it was terrible anyway, Independence Day 2, but I think didn't he leave because he wanted Jaden Smith to be in it as well? And they wouldn't allow it.
I think he wanted a hell of a lot of money as well, because he's one of those like you can tell just like by looking at, you know that he's like a diva on set, and it's got to go his way. Suicide Squad as well, like he had Tom Hardy. Mask on. He always wanted the mask off to get his, to get some screen time in there of himself.
Tom Hardy left after reading the first screenplay, saying it was all about Will Smith. Why am I not surprised? At least he got to be in a good film like Dunkirk, and many other great films.
Should we get onto the news? That's probably my least favorite bit of news out of the entire D23.
Aladdin. So on the news last week, we kind of said that it was come out. They were struggling to get people into it, and they couldn't cast Aladdin. I said, "Oh, they'll announce it at not San Diego. They'll announce it at D23. Don't worry." And they did. But what they did was also they put confirmation to bed on. We've just spoke about Will Smith. We'll just say, if you don't know, Will Smith is now the genie. That's right. Will Smith is the genie. He is. I mean, I guess that they wanted someone so charismatic to replace Rob Miller's. Like, fuck it, we can't do it. Let's just have the most monotone person we can find in the cinema do it. I don't even. I mean, this film. I mean, we've all said it. Guy Ritchie, you don't want him doing a fucking bloody Aladdin film, and is he going to make Aladdin like a London gangster, like in another part of the world? Because he's already done it in history, so why wouldn't he do it in this as well? I don't know. This is like my least anticipated Disney film maybe ever.
And I was saying when I was watching, when I unfortunately had to go and see King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, there was a giant CGI snake that appeared at the end of that, and I wonder if so many films seem to do this now, like the live-action Disney ones. We talked about the whole Notre Dame thing in live-action Beauty and the Beast, how we think that might be gearing up for Hunchback. Guy Ritchie had a giant CGI snake in there, and I'm wondering if that was testing the CGI for when he eventually gets to Aladdin, when Jafar turns into one. I've spoken about the direction before. I think he's completely the wrong choice for Aladdin. And the cast is kind of a mixed bag for me. If I talk about the ones that I do like, Mina Masood, I haven't seen in anything. I think he's done a few projects before, but I think he's a relative newcomer. Seen a picture of him. I can imagine him playing Aladdin, although kind of with the two leads in this. Mina Masood is an Egyptian actor, and Naomi Scott, people might know her playing the Pink Ranger in the recent Power Rangers reboot. I thought she was fantastic in that, and I know that she could pull off the role of Princess Jasmine. She's half Indian, and for anyone who knows Aladdin, that it's set in like Arabia, like the Middle East, which is a completely different part of the geographical map in Asia. But you know, it is what it is. We were trying to think of Middle Eastern actors that could play these roles, and we really couldn't think of any. Naomi Scott as well. She does have ties with Disney. I saw that she was in the Disney Channel, like one of those sitcom type shows. She's been in those before, so she does have ties to Disney's. Will Smith as the genie. This was rumored, and the names that I saw thrown around from fans that really wanted to play the genie were Jack Black. Now, no matter who you cast in this role, everyone, and I mean everyone, is never going to compare or even come close to the performance of Robin Williams in that first movie. But Will Smith, like, just Will Smith has a personality, like whether he is like the kind of Fresh Prince character or Agent K or Agent J, I can't remember which one it is, from Men in Black. There is nothing about his performances or his personality that gel with me with the genie. It's really strange casting, and I don't know why. Like, when we get to the song Friend Like Me, is he going to make it like get jiggy with it? Like, is it going to be a rap version? Like, what's this going to be? There's a bunch of other actors I could have think of, maybe back in the day, if they'd have done this years and years ago. Jim Carrey would have been great for this, because he's that very eccentric personality with loads of different impressions of characters and expressions. I hate this casting of Will Smith. I really do. I think it's completely the wrong choice. And although Aladdin is in my top 3 favorite Disney animated films of all time, I am dreading this live action remake now.
He has no natural charisma at all. And
no.
Aladdin is someone that, it's not that it's unscripted, and it's not, but with Aladdin, you're probably going to get a moment. I don't know if they're doing this motion capture or if it's going to be animated voice on top of it.
I expect it's going to be motion capture. Or at least integrated a bit.
Yeah, you basically need to be able to chuck this guy on set. He's going to read your lines, but then he might do 10 other lines of improv. And not that improv is a bad thing, but I mean, it's bad to Lawrence Kasdan. But it's something where Will Smith is going to be reading lines like, "You have 3 rubs, then I leave." I can picture that's your genie now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, I mean, could you imagine being in the studio with like Robin Williams? Like, he would have been having fun with the entire set, this, like, the other. Whereas I imagine Will Smith being there with some little kid feeding, like getting a runner feeding him tea and food and stuff. And there's nothing like, and I'm trying to think, like, Will Smith, he would be playing himself. And not that I'm saying The Rock, but The Rock wouldn't do it. He'd be playing himself, but he's got something called natural charisma.
And it's Maui as well, isn't it, with Moana, which is still fairly recent.
I'm not saying get The Rock, but when you think of someone that's naturally charismatic, at the minute I can only think of him, not me as a fan, but if you think of any other sort of comedians, any actors, or you'd have to try and dip into SNL, but most of them guys, they've kind of swan off and done their own thing now, and there isn't anyone, I don't think there's anyone that could do it. This is where you either try and get unknown from stand-up, you get an unknown voice actor or something like that, but Will Smith, attaching his name to a product isn't box office anymore, and attaching his name to Genie is not doing well for this film. This has been probably the most spoken about announcement so far of D23, and there's no one looking forward to it. And I'm starting to think, like, I wonder who he would have played in Dumbo, because of them lead cast, he doesn't suit any of the descriptions either, and I'd rather a film that's probably going to be awful anyway, Aladdin. I mean, it could be great, but if they're struggling in with Will Smith, like, I'd rather sacrifice Aladdin than Dumbo. But then again, I've never really been an Aladdin fan. That might just be me.
There was another little bit of news as well. I think they confirmed that it's not just taking from that 90s animated Aladdin film. It's also going to be taken from the original source material, the Book of 1001 Nights, the Arabian Nights. I'm fine with that. It just seems to be everything else surrounding this movie that I'm absolutely dreading. So not looking forward to Aladdin at all, and really kind of all of these live action remakes. However, there is one that might change that or might have my interest, and that's the live action remake, or, you know, CGI animated version of The Lion King, which apparently a clip was shown. I think a teaser trailer was shown that mimicked the style of the original 92 Lion King, which apparently received a standing ovation. So that's got my interest.
It's just I've got nothing for it. No interest.
Lion King.
Oh, sorry.
I moved on to Lion
Jesus,
King.
I'm so sorry. I was towards Tate about something that's happened.
It's fine.
Lion King. Jesus Christ. Wow, I feel really bad now. I'm not always on my phone, but you know these conditions. Lion King is a film I'm most looking forward to for a long amount of time. Did you talk about Hugh Jackman?
No, not yet. I literally just said
Good,
it got a standing ovation. I'm
good,
looking forward
good.
to it.
It did get a standing ovation, and rightfully so, it got a standing ovation. I would have paid good money to be in this convention thing right now. Not convention thing, sorry, at the expo. It's so weird because they call it an expo, but really it's just a glorified convention. It really frustrates me. And I mean, I've always been behind the announcement of this film. From the minute I saw Jungle Book, I always said, you know, there's a meerkat and whatever. A warthog. There, I almost called him a pugwash. Then that's a pirate. And that's a British pirate, Captain Pugwash. American, I don't know who he is. I said it from day one. If this works, we're going to get Lion King next, and they did. They got Jon Favreau. They've nailed everything so far, and the standing ovation of this, like basically the Pride Rock clip. I want to see that render right now. I'm praying they bring back Zimmer. I think they will, especially as they brought Alan Menken back for Beauty and the Beast. Oh man, this could be. If you thought Beauty and the Beast was big, making 1.2 billion, Lion King's going to be bigger. It's going to be something that I can't even comprehend. I can't wait to see, but I want it now. I don't want to see a single. I just want this like now, like this.
Well, there's still a continued fan base for Lion King. You look at the musical; that's still touring to this day, to sold out shows almost every day. So there's definitely an audience there. For me with this, and we've talked about some of the casting that's come out so far, and I've been very happy with it. However, we talk about getting Zimmer back. We talk about getting this voice actor back and whatnot. I think this remake's doomed if it does, and it dooms if it doesn't, because if it's too different from the original, people are going to be complaining that this voice isn't voicing this character. This song should have appeared again from the Zimmer soundtrack. But if you make it identical, what's the point in remaking it in the first place? There is nothing wrong with the original Disney Lion King. People still watch it now. It's one that, you know, parents still buy for their kids, whatever. So that's where I'm really torn on this. But I mean, I would be lying if I say I don't want to see the CGI rendering of all these animals and the Circle of Life thing. It's Disney have got their fingers in our wallets, haven't they? Like, what can I do? I'm powerless to resist.
It's something that kids love the Lion King, but I mean, and we've always said this because it is an interesting time. I've always preferred live action to animated, and nothing against animated. It's just naturally that's how I've been. And the opportunity to see Lion King in live action, like I loved it as a kid, seeing it as an adult, but there'll be kids. Oh, every kid's seen Lion King. Every kid saw Beauty and the Beast animated, still went to the cinema to watch it, and most of them seem to have loved it. Whereas with Lion King, I think because of Jungle Book, go straight in, keep Jon Favreau. They've probably got some of the renders already done. Well, of course they have their the opening scene, but everything. There's nothing that's gone wrong for this production. I mean, Disney. Okay, Aladdin. That shoots next month. That's been messed up from the beginning. Normally, with Disney, the odd one gets the odd bit of drama before pre-production and stuff, but Lion King's been so smoothly, and they've nailed it. I mean, they hadn't have done the casting announcements, you'd have expected it all there. But I mean, I think they've almost got the entire main cast now. We're waiting that final bit of confirmation. But even this weekend, there's been a whole bravado with Scar. I guess we can delve into vaguely. But Lion King is probably going to be one of the biggest films ever made when it comes out.
Definitely. And I think that before Frozen came on the scene, I think Lion King was the highest grossing animated film of all time. I mean, that counts all the countless re-releases it's had over the years with the 3D and everything like that. But yeah, a bit of fake news emerged over the weekend, which was really strange because there's a lot of reputable channels on YouTube that do movie news every day that also, talked about this news. So the news came out that Hugh Jackman was apparently cast to be playing Scar. I had opinions on that, but I guess that those opinions aren't merited anymore because this turns out this is fake news. I think it was confirmed on his Twitter by his people that yes, he was there at the place, but no, he is not playing Scar. So I really don't know how those rumors got out because there's a difference between rumors and then there's like every movie channel on the internet talking about this news, posting videos about this news, and then it came out fairly recently that this isn't happening.
Yeah, I mean, I messaged you. I was like, "Oh my fucking god, Hugh Jackman's Scar!" Like this was on Screen Junkies. This was all over Twitter during the event. I went straight to Hugh Jackman's Instagram, and he was at Disneyland the day before. And I was like, "Oh, Scar!" Like, I mean, we've every. I think when was it last week when John Oliver got announced as Zazu? I was like, "Okay, I love Andy Serkis as Scar." Like, we've associated British people with Scar for so long. Then you drop in like an Australian and everything changes because when it went down, I was like, you know what? Hugh Jackman probably could do Scarborough as long as he gets that English accent right, because you know his brother is James Earl Jones. I'm sure someone's gonna make some weird Wolverine Darth Vader fan fiction if they want to, but it was just every single website confirmed it. That's not just me; it was everywhere. Everything was getting mental with Hugh Jackman, and it was during the panel that went up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, there's clarification of like Hugh Jackman's reps to like Variety and the actual like Hollywood and stuff that no, this isn't happening, and you're like, what? Like,
how did people take the news? Did you see the general consensus on what people were thinking when Hugh Jackman was cast?
people were buzzing. It was Hugh Jackman. Like,
because I was going to say, if it was a case that it was like a huge backlash coming from this thing, then I might be able to understand it. But
there was no backlash. But then on the comments for the It's Count cycle, we had a lot of people saying, "Now can we get Jeremy Irons?" And I'm there like, I'm with you to a degree, but it was just, I don't think there'd have been any backlash to Hugh Jackman. I think because he's such a safe actor that he's great in everything. Mm-hmm. Even the bad Wolverine films. Well, no, there's only one bad Wolverine film, but he is good when his projects are terrible. Even like Chappie, I do like Chappie, but a lot of people don't. Hugh Jackman, he's having the time of his life, and I feel that he would have made a great Sky. You can see the kind of, you can get it in his voice. He's going to be the arrogant, jealous one, and he's going to want to put an end to it. He's got the menace, he's got the charm, he's got the voice to do the song. That's the main thing they need to get right.
As well, yeah.
But oh man, like I was kind of disappointed. But for all we know, he has been cast, and it could get announced in 2 weeks. I don't know.
Do you think there's some kind of behind the scenes kind of political thing going on with it? Jeremy Irons is with Warner Brothers with the DC properties, and it's difficult to get him. I'm trying to think of an actor in a current DC film that might have been in a Disney film or Marvel movie that's sort of like fair game.
That's a very, very good question.
Maybe they were trying to like finalize things. They didn't think they could do it. They cast Hugh Jackman, but now they're in a place where they might be able to get him. I don't know. It's very quick though that they announced this thing that he wasn't playing him again.
Yeah, I mean it was a day after. Is there any DC actors working elsewhere? I couldn't honestly tell you. And if there is that clause, I think it's so petty, but it works on both sides because honestly with Marvel.
Will Smith, Suicide Squad. There you go.
Yeah, good shout actually. I'm sure someone somewhere has voiced someone, but you know when you think about some of the small print, Marvel have refused to sell X-Men merchandise from day one because they want the rights to X-Men and they want to shut off making money. Whereas Spider-Man, they always wanted him back, so they were always making Spider-Man merchandise for the new films and so on and so on. So Marvel have got Disney have got pettiness in them, but I feel that just get. I think it'd be more Jeremy Irons is like not like he doesn't seem stubborn, but as a stage actor, theatre actor as well, I can imagine him being. Do I really want to play the same character twice? And I imagine him being someone that would kind of question it, especially as it's a remake of his previous film. Whereas you've got someone like James Earl Jones that I mean. He's rocking in his 80s and he's still coming up and voicing Darth Vader. He ain't going to turn down. And I guess the only good thing about age is that it will sound slightly different to the original. But I don't know. It's an odd one, isn't it? I feel that now the Hugh Jackman rumors are everywhere, there's going to be some levity to it. Whether he signed that, because when he did the Disneyland Instagram post, he put in full caps partners. So he's done a deal for some kind of thing. Unless he is the Last Jedi, which I would be down. But the issue is now that he hasn't been announced, you've had some stupid idiots thinking that Wolverine's going to be part of the MCU and that they killed him in Logan because actually he was being put in the Avengers. And this is why I don't like fake news. # fake news, full caps, angry president. Sorry to get political, but I don't know. Hugh Jackman. I've read now they've said Hugh Jackman. I'm kind of there, like you know what? If we can't get Irons, if we can't get Cumberbatch, if we can't get Serkis, who wouldn't do it anyway? Give it to Hugh. He'd probably have the time of his life doing it as well. I think that makes the difference. If people are going to have fun making them, that always helps.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been. I know it's point us talking about it now. He wouldn't have been my first choice, but I think I could have lived with it in the end. But you talked about James Earl Jones and the Star Wars connection. We do have some Star Wars news now. However, do we really? Because this was, as you put in the plan that I'm reading off right now, this is probably the biggest disappointment of D23. Very sparse news came out with Star Wars. Me and you were talking before it was going on and during, and we were expecting all these great things. For example, Ewan McGregor was apparently saw at D23. We thought we were going to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi spin-off film announcement. We didn't get any spin-off film announcement. We didn't even get a title for, as it's still called now, the untitled Han Solo spin-off, a Star Wars story. The one little thing we got was a behind-the-scenes featurette, which I've done a reaction to. You can find that on the channel, which, don't get me wrong, was a phenomenal behind-the-scenes reel. But it was like a 3-minute video, and we get them every year for all the new Star Wars movies. Yeah, and that's about it, really.
I was obviously, I've been away this weekend. Like I said, I got back on the Saturday and I managed to catch the end of this. When my lift arrived to get me where I was going, the behind the scenes clip come online, so I watched that. But in the meantime, I was like, oh, they've released, I think the posters came a couple of hours later. But they had the cast out and they teased a plot point of Captain Phasma versus Finn, which I think everyone knew we were going to get anyway at some point in this film. And it was PR. They had the new guys out, but again, they couldn't answer any questions. Ryan Johnson, being witty, great. I think he said he worked on Disney, like the Disney Channel when he was younger, editing their video packages. Joking around saying it was proper Disney Channel, not like the kiddie stuff. And then they just dropped the behind the scenes clip, which was inevitable. We knew we would get it. And then that was it. And I was kind of there like, hold up. I was like, you had the crisis of your life for the Han Solo film. And this is the only opportunity at a Disney event to give it some good PR until the film comes out, because it's meant to come out in May next year. And at this point, they know the name of the film, and they don't want to drop it. I understand not showing any footage at all, because Ron Howard might come in and do obviously they're reshooting stuff. He's doing new footage, but you don't show footage, fair enough. But to say nothing, I think the only mention it got was Kathleen Kennedy's in London on set at the minute, so she's not here today. I mean, I understand that, but I thought they'd announce the next spin-off because they didn't do it at Celebration. Unless they genuinely don't know their next spin-off, it's getting pretty close. It's 2020 that's going to come out. So they're playing risky there. There's no San Diego Comic-Con panel. That's the other thing. This is why D23 was their big event. They didn't even drop a location for the next Star Celebration. Yes, they did the model of the theme park. Yes, they gave the theme park a name. I know we're not covering theme park news, but they didn't even give a release date for the theme park opening. And then we know it's 2019, but you know who on earth gives a shit about the name of the theme park? And I think this was honestly like, not just because I'm massive on Star Wars, but Dumbo got more news than a new Star Wars film did. Aladdin got more news than a new Star Wars film did. The only thing could have been worse if they said Will Smith was like the new fucking, I don't know, the new. Well, I can't really say that word in letter, but no, it's just I was really disappointed with the Star Wars stuff. And then I had to leave, which made it even worse. And we did get posters drop across the night. It was really odd. They basically had each actor that could have had a poster doing it through social media. So obviously John Boyega was the first one to drop the poster. Then it was Daisy Ridley on Facebook. Then Oscar Isaac on Instagram. Mark Hamill dropped one. And then because, you know, he hates the world, I'm only joking, Ryan Johnson tweeted out images for Carrie Fisher and for... why do I always forget his name? Adam Driver.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, because he is nowhere on the internet. But I mean, the posters themselves, like, they look all right. To be fair, it's a very sleek design. They've intentionally cut the top half of the heads off.
It's basically like this. Like all the posters are kind of like this, where it's like they couldn't get them fully in frame. I joked about that at the time. I do like the color scheme though. I really like that.
Red. They're sticking with the red. It's not just a gimmick. That's the main thing.
But it's just it seemed like they were trying to be edgy with like cutting everyone up from here up, and I don't know if it worked. Like, I think it would have looked fine if you'd have just had the character fully in shot anyway, unless some of the characters have got some crazy haircuts, which they don't want to spoil at this point because, you know, it's Star Wars and they can't spoil tiny little details like that.
Kylo Ren's bold.
Yeah, he goes full on Woody Harrelson from War of the Planet of the Apes.
I genuinely feels like an OCD thing. Like, we want the Star Wars logo to have it in the poster. We have to shift you up. so your head is down. That's a nice way of saying it. It's different. But then I saw some memes of Matrix. Apparently, some of the Matrix posters did that once. I wouldn't compare Stars to Matrix though, because the Matrix. Well, yeah, we won't talk about the Matrix. But yeah, Star Wars disappointment. It shouldn't have been. It should have been the one that not necessarily won it, because we've got Avengers news, but it was. Is it the worst bit of news from? It's the least bit of news, I guess we could say. It's not the worst, because that does go to Will Smith.
For how big the property is, I think we're expecting a lot more. Even more so the fact that the last day of Star Wars Celebration was a giant middle finger to every fan out there. So we were all expecting something big from D23, and sadly we didn't get it. Maybe everything's kind of up in the air with Disney regarding Star Wars at the minute. Very strange they didn't talk out about the Han Solo film, really. So, yeah, I guess we'll move on to news that some actual news that we did get. So go into the land of Marvel now with Avengers Assembled. So the entire cast came out, apart from Chris Pratt and Chris Evans. Apparently that came out to a standing ovation, and the trailer was shown. Again, we can't talk about anything like that. There was a poster that was released, and it was a really, really fucking good poster. But like the whole Hugh Jackman thing, that was apparently fake news. Some very gifted person on Photoshop threw that poster together, which I would have been happy buying and framing on my wall at some point. That isn't the poster. But there was a lot of news regarding Infinity War regardless.
Yeah, I mean, they assembled them all except Captain America and the leader of the Guardians, which, you know, I bet somewhere there's probably some DC fan like typing away like, ha, they didn't turn up. But the reality is that they've got an hour-and-a-half panel next week at Comic-Con, and I would bet my money that they will all be there, plus more. What they didn't actually announce is that they wrapped filming part one, like literally like the day before, a couple of days before. That's probably why so much of the cast there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I remember when the original Avengers came out at Comic-Con all those years ago, and I think it was 2011 Comic-Con or 2010. Where it's like, these are the Avengers, and it's just like 6 people on stage like smiling. And now it's like the zoom out's there, and now 6 has become like 15, 20.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's made me so much more hyped for it that we've psyched off Spider-Man Homecoming, and you know, I think it was a terrible film.
Rightfully so.
And I don't want to hate on Spider-Man, but I did, because it was crap. But there was even something about seeing little smug Tom Holland. Even him coming out, like, I guess all the little kids love him and stuff, but it's going to be something next year. I think as an experience, that might be one of the most insane cinematic. Well, there's going to be 2 of them, I guess, but it's going to be something quite special. And obviously, they showed a trailer, which I think they're going to show to Comic-Con crowd next week, and then I guarantee it will be released online, because Comic-Con people always record it. They always find their own ways. So there's that. And what's clever with the Avengers panel is that they only spoke about Infinity War, because there are many of the Marvel films in the pipeline. They're saving them for next week, and then next week they can also talk Infinity War. So, you know, the fact that Kevin Feige does not only master a cinematic universe, but he can do it at Comic Cons a week apart as well. Fair play to him, because it would have been too easy to review it both. I think we'll talk about Comic Con next week, but I'm guessing we'll get like a Black Panther trailer, an Ant-Man teaser, an Infinity War. Marvel's gonna be mental next week. But also there were 2 other things that they revealed, something called the Black Order. For those that don't know, Thanos had more than 2 kids, although none of them are actually his children. Just to confirm that. Basically, it's everyone else that's not Nebula and Gamora, and there's basically 4 of them. The main reason I'm talking about this is because it was jokes at D23. There's 4 statues in the Infinity War area. They were covered in like black curtains. And everywhere online was all these idiots that goes, it's Fantastic Four in the MCU. Have Marvel made a last-minute deal? And it was absolutely incredible. And because everyone with a bit of common sense knew that it wasn't going to be Fantastic Four. And then what they did, they actually had Josh Brolin turn up wearing the brand new Infinity Gauntlet, which actually was kind of cool. And he was wearing it, and then he pulled the 4 like covers off, and it wasn't the Fantastic Four. Surprise, surprise. I bet somewhere there's one person that's upset, that lonely individual. But it's nice that we're going to get other villains, and that, you know, they haven't confirmed who they are, but they're probably all going to be CG or motion capture or something. Yeah. But the fact that it's not just Thanos with 2 films is something we expected, but it's good that, I don't know, it's nice to get the other family members. I'm I just can't wait to see some footage of this now. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who the Black Order are. I haven't read any comic books pretty much. I know some of the comic book stories, but the whole Thanos stuff is all shrouded in mystery for me because I don't know much about the character. Because I love pissing off DC fanboys, I guess when I saw these designs, they kind of reminded me of like General Zod's armor and like the other henchmen from Man of Steel, that kind of black tube-like space armor thing. Reminded me a little bit of that. And I was actually thinking when I was thinking about Infinity War, this is going to be a two-part story. Yeah, you're going to have Thanos, and he's going to be this huge, imposing, cataclysmic, world-ending character. But you can't have every action scene over a two-part film be him. He's going to be like the end goal they've got to beat. You can't have him in every fight because he is so overpowered, and he does have the power to pretty much wipe all of them out with the click of his finger. You're going to need some kind of henchman-like characters in there for the team to fight across the movies, and I'm guessing these do have a rich history tied to the Thanos character. It makes sense to have them. They all look like they're different shapes, look like they're going to have different ways of fighting, which is going to make sense. Clearly, you're going to like pair the different Marvel characters off fighting some alongside Thanos, maybe. It's fine. What I am really concerned of with this film, though, but I'm sure they're going to make it work, is the sheer amount of character bloat this film's probably going to have. The rumors that we're going to see like 30 heroes on screen together, it's what the fanboys and us have always wanted. But in terms of making it work for a film when you do have an ensemble cast that big, and now you don't just have one villain, you have essentially 5. We might even have more. Marvel have always had a problem even when they just have one villain in their movie. So hopefully Thanos still gets a lot of development in the film. It looks like they're juggling a lot of stuff, but it is a movie I'm still looking forward to regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it's got me not just excited for the film, but for Comic-Con, because I do think they will drop that trailer. If not at Comic-Con, maybe just after. If they want to be idiots, they'll drop it. I mean, it's definitely going to be on with Thor at the cinemas. I know it's October, but there's no way they can get 3 minutes without it leaking. They always find a way to do it. But maybe next week we'll get some casting announcements. I mean, I'm sure they'll know who the cast are. But then again, Groot and Rocket Raccoon, the voices were cast 6 months before the film came out. So whether they're motion capture ADR, but Peter Dinklage was spotted on the set, so I'm just going to assume he's one of the Thanos' kids. But it's gonna be it's so weird because it's 2 films. That's what I keep forgetting. It's going to be amazing to see, but it's not going to finish the story. It's a great thing because this is a film that will need to just the sheer amount of characters, but he's got to get the gauntlet. And then he's got to show power using it, and then he's got to fight them, then he's got to win, he's got to lose, blah, 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 blah. And it's...
Oh, are we still live? Hello? I can't tell if we're still live or not. Are we good? It seems we may have lost George. I can't tell if he's still talking or not, so I guess this is going to be an audio live stream until George comes back on. So hopefully you guys are still all tuned in and everything's fine. We're going to try... Oh,
something went wrong there. My internet disappeared and decided to come back.
Yeah, it just went to audio for a second. I was just telling people that, you know, I was going to carry it on in the audio format until you came back. But you're back now, so it's all fine.
What did I get up to? Was I talking about the new Marvel logo yet?
No, it was you were kind of just wrapping up about the whole Thanos stuff.
Yeah, I'm just excited for next week, and I hope that in a week's time we've got footage to talk about, so we can go into detail, because I've read 1 or 2 vague descriptions of footage for this, and it's not something I was spoiling this because it impacts not just the film next year, films coming out this year that are still Marvelized, and films from next year. So I'm going to not talk about the footage, but I'm going to kind of vaguely move on to the last bit, which is Marvel unveiled a new logo for next year, and I think it's kind of been said that they reckon this will be on every film because they keep doing new logos every couple of months, it seems now. Next year, for those that don't know, it's the 10-year anniversary of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because 10 years is a monumental achievement for any film ever made. We're going to get, like, I don't know, what came out 10 years ago this year? It's the 10th year of Spider-Man 3. we're going to get a new trilogy coming out. No jokes, we've got the shitty Tom Holland ones. It's called Marvel. Remember Phantom Four Stick? That's one way of putting it. Marvel stood tense. They've put the Iron Man Studios to a 10 because why not? And it's called the first 10 years. But what makes this sadder is that they've put the first 10 years, not that it's 10 years the first, which means there are going to be many more to come. And what annoys me is that if these are attached to films, A, it's going to date them immediately, but B, it's your achievement is not that you've been doing films for 10 years. Your achievement is that you have created a cinematic universe. You're going to have 22 by the end of Infinity War, but you think your achievement's doing 10 years. I don't know. They don't need to do a new logo. I know it's minor, but if they want to hype up their 10-year anniversary, then there are a lot of other franchises that can be celebrating that more than you. No one cares about anniversaries till you get 30 and maybe the odd 25 onwards.
And this constant change in logo thing really annoys me, and DC are doing it as well. I like to tether myself to one logo, and I didn't have a problem with Marvel's first logo. I understood maybe why they changed it, and the new one's a lot more showy. It's a lot more visual with all the characters and everything like that. And now they're changing it up again. Like it just seems pointless. I agree with you. The achievement is that they've got to this point from that little film of Iron Man in 2008 with that post-credit scene. I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative, and we've had 3 phases now leading up to Infinity War. That's the achievement. But that news that you said, like the first 10 years, that really kind of scares me, because I think we were both feeling the fatigue a little bit with Marvel, with Spider-Man Homecoming. We're still looking forward to Infinity War, and we'll still be at every other one in between. But if we've got another 10 years with another 22 films with this second phase of the Avengers, will we even still care by the time that we're in, oh God, I'll be in my 30s. I'll be in my mid-30s still seeing Marvel movies. Christ, that's a depressing thought. Yeah.
Since Iron Man 1's come out, I've done secondary school, I've done A-levels, I've done university, and now I've finished uni just in time for Infinity War. I don't want to know what the next 10 years will be. And then, like, when we get to phase 6, like, I could be a grandparent or some, like, mentalness, because these aren't ever leaving. Like, I really hope they do, but, oh, my God, I just want to, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago him saying that I have planned all the way up to 2027. I think, do you remember something like that?
Yeah.
Do you remember? It was years ago, and you kind of laughed it off, and years later, you're just like, shit.
Shit, we might actually get there. Yeah.
Yeah, they will. They're still strong in 2017, like, they weren't lying.
It is what it is, isn't it? It's the Disney cash cow. They'll keep going until they bleed a franchise dry, and then they'll throw it to the wayside and look for the next thing. The superhero craze will die down at some point. I think Tate predicted that it would happen, was it last year? Or this year? It's not going anywhere just yet. 2020 maybe, because we're going to have loads of other DC films, and it'll be DC Marvel competing.
I
think all the Fox movies as well.
I think it's going to die after Infinity War Part 2. I think after that, people will be tired. A lot of people think Marvel's finished. They'd have killed half the characters they like. They won't want to go see new ones. DC would have literally like shot itself in the foot, not with a gun, but with a shotgun. Sorry, I've triggered you all at home. But these will die. And as long as Star Wars sticks to 1 a year, if that can live long and prosper. I'm going to hell for saying
you have pissed so many people off on this live stream tonight.
I know it's just there's so many, but Star Wars, keep that quiet. Do what you want with it. Don't do 3 films a year. Don't plan the next 25 films all at once. Don't try and be clever, Kathleen Kennedy. Do what you're doing now. Don't announce 10 years worth of films at once, because you haven't even announced 2020 yet.
Yeah. And I think that pretty much takes us up to the end. So to recap, like my thoughts on this D23. I don't know if disappointed's the right word, but there wasn't really everything that was announced. It was either small, like a picture here, a little announcement here. There was nothing major for me to sink my teeth into with this one. I'm very worried about a few of the live action remakes of the Disney films. They've also said that Mulan's going to be 2019, which I thought it was already going to be anyway. I'm not too set on the animated classics that are coming out next year. I'm more looking forward to Gigantic the following year, which will be, although it's Jack and the Beanstalk, it's another original Disney movie, not a sequel. So yeah, it's really just kind of little tidbits. I don't really know what I was expecting, maybe something a bit bigger, but I guess all the little bits have kind of added up. I think it was fine for what it was.
Yeah, I think, to be fair to Disney, they knew Comic-Con's coming, so They're like, okay, we've got to do something Marvel, not too big enough to get headlines. We've got Star Wars, but we can't really show too much, and we're in a bit of a PR fuck up at the minute. They kept it in a fuck up. They didn't do anything to save the day, but I think their strongest stuff was their live action. Although I hate the Aladdin stuff, like we've just been given an Aladdin cast, we've been given a cast for Dumbo. They've been showing clips of, you know, the live action stuff was quite clearly their strength. And at the minute, in terms of not just box office, but I feel that their strength right now is live action. Mm-hmm. Says a lot of them are remakes and sequels, but
it's just easy money, isn't it? They're taking their films that they've already made, just essentially doing them again.
They know what they're doing. Money. I mean, Disney's timeless. I mean, there's only so many times you can release the same film. The Vault edition, the Gold edition, the other edition. Now it's okay. Just get that remake. Get that remake in. You know, you're doing Beauty and the Beast in concert now. You're doing this, that, the other, and take your money, do what you want, because at least they're not making. I mean, there's some questionable films, but I don't think there's been an outright bad films in terms of box office critics and fans. I don't think they've had that trouble yet. They've had the odd one where they've stood down more than they thought they would. You know, Alice in Wonderland films.
There's the first one, maybe.
John Carter, yeah, and you know, they got scared and decided. Tomorrowland, I thought was great. It was
fine. I thought
it was fine. It wasn't the hit they thought. Because of that, not only did they cancel Tron 3, but they destroyed the Tron franchise by casting Jared Leto. Well, rumored to cast Jared Leto in a reboot,
honka, honka.
Which is depressing.
Obligatory honka honka.
Yes, but also very quickly, Tron. My biggest disappointment. This is where they should have announced the new Tron film if it was going to happen. They bottled it. Many reasons why. I probably haven't actually confirmed the idea, but why can they not announce a new Tron film yet they announced the new Tron sort of theme park ride that's going to be at the Disneyland? I don't know, but I guess that's everything with me wrapped up. It's been an odd one.
I was going to say, like, maybe being there and actually being in the halls and seeing these things would have definitely amped it up a lot more. We can only comment on so much.
I feel that the people that go are media and press pass, and then the high up Disney hierarchy of fans / board investors, whatnot, because they are so strict. I mean, someone put an image online of them in D23. They take your phone or your electrical items, they turn them all off, they put it in a sealed envelope, they take the envelope away.
Yeah.
That's why there are no leaks ever at D23. Where San Diego, you know, some people are queuing overnight. They're not going to take their possessions. Someone's going to get that camera. We'll get a low-res trailer. The low-res trailer will mean that they've got to release the HD one 2 hours later. So fingers crossed we've got some more stuff to talk about. But it is a Disney event, and it does seem like one where there's a ton of... It's like the Star Wars celebration, but just for Disney. There's so much stuff on. I think that Alan Menken doing a concert there, stuff like that. They do that kind of thing where you've got to be there to experience it, and you know they don't want to stream it for that sole reason that it isn't just a convention; it's an expo.
The very, very last thing I'll say, and I know you said you didn't want to talk about it. They released a trailer for Kingdom Hearts. I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. That looks absolutely stunning. They showed the Toy Story level. It looks incredible. That's really just the last bit of news I wanted to talk about. But yeah, passing back to you for the outro. I think we've covered everything.
Yep. This has been everything on this very special odd episode of the news. We've got the normal news back on Thursday. We've already got some things to talk about. Comic-Con, I guess, because posters are going to drop. Some trailer for trailers are probably going to drop. We've obviously had some sad news this week as well, so there's a lot to cover. I actually won't be on this episode. I've got to hand over to you and Tate for Thursday night. I will try and get on if I can at the end, but schedule-wise, we're all going to be sorted. Normal episode this Thursday, the news. Then on Monday, Comic-Con. Thursday news, and then I don't think there's any major stuff till a long way away. So we've got that to look forward to. We've got plenty of other content. We've got reaction videos coming up from you. We have a video every Friday from Tate. Some point we've got a new version of The Last Picture coming up, which is long overdue. Tom's been away, so we haven't had them up. Next Tuesday, I'll be back with an episode of Rockathon, so I had to cancel the last one for the Skellig video, which doesn't work on phones because I'm not bowing down to their copyright nonsense. And that has been everything I can say on this episode of D23 News. Let us know what you thought of D23. Do you care about any of these? I want to know, what news did you hate the most, and then Dan, what news you like the most? Because I've got a feeling the key word is going to be Will Smith. But that has been the Cinema Savvy News D23 special. Join us. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification because Tate always reminds us to tell you that, and you will get a notification every time we go live. Those that heard my phone in a recent episode or my emails going off, it's because I have the bell notification and it tells me that I'm streaming. I'm streaming it here. So Good night, everyone. Have a good time.